Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gives me heartburn. It's like, I love it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry.
this is it right here. Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we drink beer and argue with each other about the best movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction realm. And tonight, we have a truly bananas-ass movie to talk about, and a bananas-ass guest, from everything I've heard. So, we're going to do the menu tonight, starring Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy, and her name. That is her name, right? No. Yes. It is.
You
Tripping
were
out.
correct.
Anya Taylor-Joy, also in the movie. Everybody kicks ass in that movie, but I'm not debating it. We're going to see what our debaters think. Our debaters tonight are going to be Jeremy Hudson and our guest, Peter Rosch. Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I am pronouncing your name correctly, I hope.
You are pronouncing it correctly, yeah. And thanks. I love this concept as a chef. I just think it's amazing, and I was stoked to be invited to do it. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see what we get into. But the menu, I mean, you called it banana. We'll see where it goes.
It could go a lot of different places, just like any well-cultivated menu will, because it's a story. At the end of the day. Hopefully this debate's going to be a good story that you enjoy, but before we get to that, we'll do our round of personal updates. We'll end off with you, Peter, so you can tell the good people of the Fermented Fiction universe who you are, what you do, where they can find you. Travis! You can go after Jeremy since your mouth's full. Jeremy, what's up, buddy?
Oh, hey. So, I have, less of an update, but more of like a question.
Okay.
Regular listeners who are just following along, they'll know that I have my broken ankle still.
Right.
And so once again, because this isn't my first time breaking an ankle, and
Not your first rodeo, one would say.
not my first rodeo. So once again, I find myself in the position of trying to figure out how to politely tell somebody, thank you, but this was a lot easier before you started helping me. Because most of the help I get offered, it's very thoughtful, and it's not. You could just leave me to my own devices, please and thank you.
Is everybody walking up to you like you're on the beach at Normandy, like trying to throw a shoulder underneath and help you hobble around, or what's going on?
Sprinting around me to open doors. They're trying to like there's a lady that at church that took my crutch and ran it away from me so I could sit down. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just stranded here until somebody brings that back. Okay, thanks.
You gotta hope someone else is just as helpful, or that everyone else is substantially less helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anybody can help me figure out a way to just say that, but polite,
That's a tough one.
we're gonna be on to something.
That's
Chime off in the comments.
Please do.
Best
We're trying
comment.
to change lives out here.
Yeah.
Best comment goes on a t-shirt. For real. Let's
Hell yeah,
do
man.
it. Like, how do you say that to somebody? Stop fucking helping me. Go. I know that you are coming from a good place, and this negative emotion of mine also coming from a place of gratitude. I see what you're doing. I need you to stop trying to do it. I don't know how you tell him, Jeremy. I really don't.
It's hard. It's a struggle.
Peter, you got any advice on
You
how
gotta
to tell
do
someone
anything on
really
that?
politely to fuck off?
You write stuff.
I don't have to tell it. I've been told that my face just says it. I think,
Okay.
no one going to try to help me.
See, I thought I had that problem, and then I broke an ankle.
Oh, you have a very friendly looking face, you know?
Yeah, Jeremy, I would never say you have a
No.
resting bitch face. You're
I definitely
Yeah.
would want to help you if I saw you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what
Yeah,
what
not
can
a
I
rest-
do for you?
I know. I do look just largely helpless. I don't have the
Not
resting
helpless.
bitch face.
you look like a good hugger. I'm gonna say
I
that.
am a good
Sure.
hugger. Thank you, Travis.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your form's a little stiff, but you pretty good. You pretty good. Travis?
Get fucked.
I'm not.
Please and thank you.
I'm not
Travis,
a
what's
hugger.
new with you, buddy?
I'm a ball of tension.
Yeah, that's true.
yes.
Hugging you feels competitive. Like I
it
have to
is.
try
That
to
makes
hug
sense.
you
It is
harder.
competitive.
like when you handshake with someone from
Like a
Montana.
manly handshake. Yeah.
You gotta come ready, locked and loaded.
I am DMing again. That's my update. We just finished. My buddy James ran kind of one of those, one shots. Like it was supposed to be like 4 sessions, and it turned into a year. But it was incredibly fun. We just wrapped it up. Really, really, probably I'd say probably the second coolest D&D single game I've played was the finale of that. And it was like such a good storyline, and it just wrapped up. People rolled like exactly what they needed to roll at exactly when, and it was just cool.
Nice. It was the end of Stranger Things.
No.
I just mean literally the D&D scene.
Yes, literally the D&D,
the very last D&D scene where
very
they
last D&D
gotta
scene.
roll the perfect. Yeah.
Very emotional, very, very good. And the group wants to keep going, but we want to kind of alternate DMs, so I'm jumping in. I'm gonna try and run a murder mystery noir type campaign in the world I created a while ago, and I'm risking it and making them level 10s, and hopefully I can keep up with that madness. But yeah,
that's a solid start. Definitely
It's
a
gonna
solid
be bananas.
start. Whoever your party rogue is, be ready for that asshole.
he's a rogue wizard, so he's even more of an asshole. And he's
Come
tame,
on now.
so he's a rogue wizard played by a certified genius.
I know. Playing with him was like so annoying, but it was really fun. But it was also like this guy is gonna destroy me when I try to fight him.
Yeah.
But luckily you helped me OP my guest character that one time. That was a lot of fun. He carried on for a little while. My personal update. I did my first Clay's Horror Corner today, which is something I'm going to try to start doing, just kind of for Fermented Fiction. Short horror fiction review videos, very short. And I'm just going to be walking around, doing a walk and talk, because I do a daily walk out here, and I go surfing sometimes. So wherever I am, I'll take interesting videos and see if that can't be interesting to other people. You can hear what I think this week or next week. I'll release it about Stranger Things season 5 for realsies. I did a little review on it. So yeah, I guess that's my personal update. It's work related, but I do work a lot, and that felt like a fun way to incorporate, to share, I guess, that part of my process a little bit.
Yeah.
If anyone gives any single fucks.
I give
I'm
2 to
sitting here giving
3.
a fuck. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
very cool.
I'm there to watch
man.
that Stranger Things review because I like vomited my thoughts to you last 2 weeks ago, and you haven't watched it yet.
It might let you down, bud. It might let you down.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it as much as you did.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I rated it at 6.5.
Yeah.
I just think it's an objectively well-made show to a certain degree that you can't really discount. And I think there's enough good in there that if you are more invested in the right side character arcs, then it has nice payoff. And then some of them are a bit stagnated for me. So anyway, we're not talking about that. We're here to talk about the menu. And we're going to do it the way we always do, which is in a debate format. We're going to roll 2 d20s. High roll will defend, low roll will attack, regardless of what you actually think. And today... Oh, wait, actually, I skipped you, Peter. I'm so sorry. You can introduce yourself now. In the blue corner, we have Peter Rosch. Peter, who are you? What do you do? Where can people find you? and then we'll have you debate.
Who am I? I don't know who. That's my personal update. I'm really struggling to figure out who the fuck I am. Let's see. I'm an author, a writer. My last book, my most recent novel, is called What the Dead Can Do. I think I was pushing that when I met you, Clay. Prior to that, I had a novella that I put out called Future Skinny, about a devout anorexic man who discovers he could see the future by binge eating. And I think all three of you would really enjoy it. Prior to that,
fantastic.
Yes,
it is fantastic. I don't mind telling you, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Whew, man. Yeah. Lately I've just been, I think my update is I'm all over the place. So even though I am predominantly a writer, I've just started to say I'm an artist. And then that way I feel better when I'm not writing. And if I'm like playing the piano or playing the guitar or trying my hand at painting, or like my son is drawing a ton right now. So I kind of want to sit and just draw, which I used to do all the time. Just not being so focused on just always on, writing and in front of the computer. Let's see, where can you find me? You can, I invite anyone to try to find me. I'm in Costa Rica.
Good luck.
Yeah. Just in fact, actually, there's a funny little story. There's a hardware store in this country. It's called Colono. And when I first went there, they asked me if I wanted to create an account. And so I did. And now whenever I go to any one of them, they'll ask me for my name. And I'll say, Peter, I'll start spelling it. And they'll just put in P-E-T. And it's only me. I am the only Peter in all of, at least in the Guanacaste Peninsula. So you could start there. You could just go to Kelowna. Just say, I'm looking for Peter Rosch.
Best way to find Peter is to go to a Costa Rican grocery store chain, and just put it on his tab. Put whatever you need on his tab. You'll find him.
And then
that is what I assumed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. It probably would be easy. I'm making it out to be a big deal, but I really believe that you could ask 6 people between here and the airport, do you know a guy named Peter? And they'd be like, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever drives you from the airport will know. Take you straight there.
Right. Yeah.
It's I've driven Peter home before.
You could also find me, I guess, at peterrosch.com if that's where you want to find me. You can learn more about the other books I've written and, and try to keep up with me. I keep a very loose, it started as a blog. Now it's an email letter called Level 9 Paranoia. You can join that and then maybe I'll start dropping more clues,
Right on, man. Okay. So if you want to really meet Peter, go to Costa Rica. Otherwise, if you want to half-ass it, you can go to his website. We'll put that in the comments. But long before we're worrying about the comments, we're going to worry about y'all's comments on the menu. The premise of the menu, if you don't know, there is a young couple we are introduced to. One is very clearly a food nut, as one of the first things he does is yell at his girlfriend to stop smoking because she'll ruin her palate. And she's like, okay, chill. And then they get on a boat and they go to a luxury kitchen. So this is not even 5 stars Michelin. This is past that. Wherever Gordon Ramsay would cook on a daily basis, this is essentially where we're at. Except for Gordon Ramsay is much moodier and darker type of artist. More isolationist than Gordon. He's not trying to greenlight another project right now. He's got a whole different idea of how to best serve his client base. And the movie's about him getting to that point. So we also spoil everything on this show. So if you haven't seen the menu, you should go watch it. Come back. Or if you don't care, keep watching. We like you either way, just the same. All right. Are you guys ready to roll dice?
Oh, yes.
I can roll for you, Peter.
Great.
I got it, Clay.
You got it, Trev? Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Not bad. What'd you get, Jeremy?
I got a 9. It's a piping hot 9.
So
Peter,
piping hot.
I got you an 11.
So
All right.
that is a respectable victory.
That's
Yeah,
some
that's
Tyler's bullshit right there. Is what
11
that
is like a good, that's like a mid. If you have a good feat, you're like, I'm sitting pretty with an 11 plus 6. That's a 17. That's solid.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And Peter definitely has some solid saving throws there. So that worked in his favor. So Peter, you're going to go first because you're arguing for it. Travis, can you grab a timer?
Yep. I got the 10-minute timer.
Okay.
A second here.
So you can lead him into the fight.
I actually
will go
thought about
away.
the box office this time, and I forgot the 10-minute timer. I always forget something. Okay, here we go. All right, Peter. All right, Jeremy. Whenever you're ready, give me the signal. Thumbs up. All right, Peter's starting us off with the menu, and Jeremy, you are against. Remember, you're sharing that 10-minute timer. Do not filibuster unless I guess you want to try, but you're free to interrupt if someone tries that. So in 3, 2, 1, begin.
All right. First and foremost, I'm going to say you might go see this movie as I did and walk out thinking it's okay. It's okay. It's one of those. Now, I did not walk out thinking it's okay. This is a movie, if you watch it again, then you start to really understand what it's saying and why it is probably, in my opinion, one of the most relevant messages in the last 5 to 7 years. Because at its core, this film is about artists versus consumers and just how effed up that relationship has become, right? You got a guy who has spent his whole life trying to give everybody what they want, doing it well, pure dedication, pure love, so much so that he, of course, loses sight of it. And who is he serving? People who don't care, people who think they could do it better, people who want to do it like him but never could, people who will run their yaps, people who forget. And, of course, what are these people as well? Super wealthy, super rich, the only people who could make it out to this island and afford this. Here we are sitting in a time when artists of all kinds are dealing with this massive onslaught of social media, being tagged when they're being completely obliterated by people who maybe have never written a song, never written a book. At the same time, we're watching the rich continue to be the rich. I don't want to make this too much about the rich, but I mean, the movie has a strong element of that. Then on top of everything else, and I'll leave it at this and then turn it over to you, I love a slow burn. I just love a thing that sits there and you tense and tense and tense. This all takes place, for the most part, it's not a single location film, which I'm also a huge fan of, but it's almost all right there in the restaurant. And to say that they didn't pull something magical off, well, frankly, Jeremy, would just be ignorant.
Ignorant, you say? Well, let's begin, shall we? Let's just dive right in. Let's talk about the rich and this sort of missed opportunity. Because yeah, you have largely the ultra wealthy coming in to this restaurant, being all entitled and whatever. You miss a golden opportunity to eat the rich, which I think is something we can all get behind. They didn't. Kind of a letdown. Also, there is a moment that I do want to call out specifically as being like as a very unrealistic thing that happens, because I have worked a lot in kitchens, cooking and the like, and there's a moment where Jeremy, rest in peace, admits to the chef and everybody in the room that he's never going to be as good as the chef, and he's not going to be great, and then the rest happens, and that's whatever. See, the thing about that is there is no cook anywhere who does not believe that they're the best thing ever, that they're not going to be the greatest cook who's ever lived, and would kill someone to make that happen. That's just the truth. Cooks are psychopaths. I think the movie lands that in a pretty convincing way because they are. We are. Hi, everybody. We are. It's little things like that, and also, it doesn't stick the landing, and it doesn't commit to the sort of believability. Like the chef, portrayed by Ralph Fiennes, who has the audacity to spell his name like it's not Ralph Fiennes. He even says, like, yeah, none of you even tried to run away. You probably could have. Like, a lot of you could have gotten away from this, and you didn't. And I'm like, yeah, why didn't they? And like when Margot at the end is like, hey, can I actually get this to go? And then he lets her leave. Not even one other person tries that same shit. When they see that it works, they're all just like, yep, hand me my marshmallows, and
I think
here we go.
that's totally believable to me, because when you're talking about the uber elite, the rules don't apply to them. They don't think they have to run. They think they're being included in something very, very special. So even when she does get up and she's making her first attempt to flee, right? Or maybe it's because she's given her a task to go get, and they stay there. They're already viewing her as like, you're not really one of us, and we're above that. Wherever this is going, we, in a weird way, deserve it, right? And of course, there's the delay, right? I'm sure that even as things are getting crazier and crazier, that's what I love about it, because think about a time when you've been in something crazy and you feel it in your gut, but you just keep ignoring it, right? You're like, let's see where this goes. You're playing it out until like the last possible second, and usually by the last possible second, it's too late. You brought up Ralph Fiennes as well. I mean, his performance in that. This is a man who has done so many amazing things, I think. And I think his ability to sort of take over that role and control that room and control that kitchen and control the screen, honestly, like what I'm looking at, what I'm listening to, what I'm paying attention to, even if I shouldn't be, right? The other thing that really makes this film amazing to me is that you could tell 9 out of 10 people who directed this, and they'll never know who the hell you're talking about. That only amplifies the brilliance of the movie to me. Here's a guy who had nothing to do with horror, right? Nothing to do, and I guess it's debatable. There are some people who probably say the menu isn't horror, to which I say, come at me. However, that guy was the right guy for the job. This was a guy who understood, I have to make all of this dialogue work amongst all these different characters, right? Everything about it, the way it was set up and the way it unfolds, I'm just not sure it would have come together with a more traditional horror name in the directing part of it anyway.
I feel like you're right about that. We would have had a completely different experience with a, veteran horror director, and I'll give you that. But, that doesn't make this pile of incoherent weirdness where this chef has a ratatouille moment making a cheeseburger, and he's like, joy at last. This is what I was missing all along. And instead of doing like they do in Chef, just like quitting his job and driving across the country with a burger truck, which, I mean, I guess you can't just make every cooking movie Chef, but still, it's wild that just the big swings and subsequent misses that this movie makes. And like you talk about the people in the restaurant kind of deserving it, I think we can all agree almost 100% that John Leguizamo's character did not deserve it. Okay? Just because he has to die because the chef didn't like that movie on his one day off many years ago. Bro, no.
That's the moment,
he
though,
didn't
where
even direct the movie. He was just there, and it was a pretty fun shoot.
It's the one time in the movie where he is them, because he was the consumer, right? The role switched. And so that only then makes it more preposterous that he would carry on with it. Even he was so amped up in his revenge fantasy that he couldn't even see that he had committed the same crime.
See, he'd be. I'd say the roles would be reversed if he got the director, but that would be like the way it played out. It'd be like if somebody didn't like one of his meals, and then he killed the cow, the cattle rancher that supplied the beef to the restaurant. Like, why not get the guy that cooked it? You get the cook? Get the cook.
You're not going to sway me. You're not going to sway me, Jeremy. You said that there was a lot of missed opportunities, and best I could count, you've only presented one, which was Eat the Rich.
Look,
what was the other?
well, yes, Eat the Rich, obviously,
right.
but
now
also,
you said they didn't stick the landing.
Yes, as much as the menu is a story and everything needs to be told. There's a lot of like little inconsistencies that just build up to the aha moment of like, and now we're making s'mores, but with people. But like, there's like they have this whole course earlier on, the breadless bread course, and nobody gets any bread. Great, that's fine. They make a big deal out of it.
Shut up, Jeremy. Shut it. Zippy trap. We're done. We're done.
Very well.
Done. All right. That was a great
Zip.
Great points made. We're going to see what people actually think in just a bit here. But before we do that, we always like to give a little bit of trivia about the movie, as well as whether or not it was a success. But before we do that, we're going to talk about drinks first. And Clay, you're showing me what segment we're on, so why don't you show us what that drinky drink there is?
Yeah, I just got an Icicle Fortress.
I love the color scheme of that beer can.
Yeah, Icicle always has great art. And they're from Leavenworth, so shout out to Leavenworth. Was hit pretty hard by the flood. Hopefully they continue to recover well. But yeah, I really like all their beer. I couldn't find anything like topical to this movie in my local store, so I just grabbed a beer I knew I could trust.
Nice.
So yeah, it's tasty.
Jeremy, did you bring something
hey.
pretentious?
I mean, a little bit. My first instinct was to go for like an aggressively fancy wine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had the first death of the movie, a cook named Jeremy. So
Yeah.
solidarity. So what I have here is this Elijah Craig single barrel proof from the Belgrade Liquors, but it is the Jer's Way to Heaven. And that's what it says on the little sticker there.
Jer's
Nice.
Way to
And
Heaven.
I've made an old fashioned with it.
Nice. Honestly, that's Montana fancy. Like bourbon, bourbon cocktails are the Montana fancy wine. I feel like every restaurant here is like, we love bourbon cocktails.
If the menu happened at like a remote Montana ski resort, like at the Yellowstone Club, then that would definitely be what they would serve instead of wine.
Which I also
And
brought.
just like buffalo on the leg.
Bourbon, Old Forester.
Beautiful.
I think this is just their normal one. Yeah. So it's
Could be.
they always say they're the oldest bourbon. What is it? Continuously sold before, during, and after Prohibition.
Yeah, they're the oldest distillery in America that's still open.
Yep. Very good stuff.
Nice.
Simple classic. Peter, did you bring anything to drink to the show today?
I am drinking a Coke Zero, fellas, but
Nice.
I am having Velo with it. So,
Nice.
There you go.
The Zen pouches.
That'll get you right.
That will get you
it
right.
does. Oh boy, doesn't it? I've gotten to the point where I'm practically just dropping them in the drink and letting them.
Hey,
that makes
whatever
me
works
think
for
of-
you.
Makes me think of, there's a guy on YouTube that when I was in college, he would like his whole shtick was I'll drink anything you send me, and somebody sent him like 3 cans of Zins that had been soaking in a gallon of milk, and he drank Zin milk and instant throw up. When I watched that video, it was bad.
Yeah, that's gross.
But our viewers,
it's just a bad segue or a bad time for me to tell you a quick story about having met the devil.
there's never a bad
I
time.
mean, that sounds like the perfect time to tell us.
Let me tell you, fellas. One time I was up in at a bar. It's called the Raccoon Lodge, and not a very honestly even good bar on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. And we used to go up there and shoot pool. And I met a guy, and what he had done, he was carrying around a little dip, right? And he had taken a Vicodin and crushed the Vicodin into the dip and then like mixed it around, right?
Oh.
Then he buried it. I can't remember where he was from, probably somewhere upstate. Buried it in the snow for 3 months and just let it freeze and thaw and freeze and thaw. Then he took it out. Then he poured, I can't remember which vodka it was. It was something high vodka into it, stirred it up again, put it in, then stuck it in his freezer for 30 days or something like that. So he's like, you want a little pinch of this. I saw some really incredible things that evening, gentlemen.
Oh man!
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ!
So that's not Zen milk per se, but it just reminded me of that moment because my friend who was with me, his name's Jeff Clark. He had taken a little pinch of it as well, and I didn't see him for like 2 weeks. I mean, I don't even really remember how the night ended. And I said,
Sure.
Dude, do you think maybe that guy was the devil? I mean, like how many people who are burying cans of tobacco in the snow?
Yeah,
It was
all the ones I know are witches. So
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, right. 100%. 100%.
I would. I
success
mean,
rate.
I'm not here to plug Vicodin or anything, but I'm just saying.
it was crazy.
There it is. You have the recipe.
That right there, it tells me that like I've had arguments with people who are like big, aliens are real people, and I don't want to get into that, but they're like, how did humans discover beer? And I'm like, probably just some guy fucking around. And
Yeah, totally.
Like there's
Or
proof
somebody
today,
who was.
like,
Yeah.
that guy didn't find a recipe online. He was just like, I wonder what would happen if I did all of these things to this can.
I'm like,
of tobacco.
yeah, crazy.
Just created his own like meth lab peyote. That's wild. Yeah, well, I would recommend not doing that when you watch the menu. I will say.
Mostly because
Forever.
you really want to be clear-headed for such a wonderful film.
It's wild. It's wild.
Let's get some trivia on
Trivia.
the board real fast before we move on to what we actually think, because I am so excited to hear everybody's opinions. A lot of the cool facts about this movie have to do with how accurate the like kitchen stuff was. So the entire kitchen team were trained. Jeremy, call bullshit on these facts if you want. I don't know. I'm getting them off the internet, so I
Don't
know
worry,
nothing
I will.
about cooking. The entire kitchen team were actually trained to create the dishes broken down station by station, so that if at any time you look in the background of the film, they're all doing the correct things, which I thought was really cool. Who is it? Where's this? I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Han Chow was a major architect of her character Elsa, who was a bit limited on the page and inspired by all the funky people Chow had seen around Portland, Oregon while filming Showing Up. She was so good at the like technique and dedication to the craft of the cooking that she was acting out that a food consultant for the movie, Dominique Crenn, offered her a job at one of her restaurants after the filming.
That's
So
incredible.
That's incredible.
Hell yeah.
Pretty dope.
Nice. Double win if you're an actor for sure.
This movie was filmed a lot during COVID, and due to the protocols, they kind of spent weeks of intensive rehearsals before filming even started. And it really they contributed to a lot of the like camaraderie they had as a cast to play the kitchen staff, is that they pretty much were cooking meals every day together in a real kitchen setting for weeks before they had to fake it. So it wasn't really that fake. which is cool. Director Mark Mylod had admitted in interviews that being British, he prefers fish and chips to any of the creations featured in the film, which I respect. A lot of Golden Globe nominations. At the 80th Golden Globe Awards, Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy were both nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress in a musical or comedy, which is going to lead me to a tiny little mini rant for all of you. The musical comedy genre of the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes needs to be fixed because it's getting ridiculous. They're just throwing anything that they don't think is a drama in there. To the point of One Battle After Another is nominated for was nominated and won a Golden Globe in the comedy category. Not drama. Like, yeah, that movie's funny at points, but that movie is not a comedy, front-facing comedy. It is a drama. So dumb. Anyway, so that's my mini rant there. 3 Oscar nominees in the cast: Han Chow, Janet McTeer, and Ralph Fiennes. Or Rafe Fiennes. He's amazing. Oh, John Leguizamo. How do you pronounce his name?
Leguizamo.
Thank you. Leguizamo. John Leguizamo was inspired. His character was inspired by Steven Seagal.
Damn, you're gonna call out Steven Seagal like that on the program?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna call it
Louise.
Bro, he's gonna show up and kick your ass.
Oh, dude. Okay, there's another mini rant. The amount of interviews from actual MMA fighters where they're like, Steven Seagal is not actually a fighter, but we won't get into that.
I mean, he is actually like a cop now, so that's interesting.
That is interesting. That's crazy. Anya Taylor-Joy came up with the idea of Margot punching Tyler after finding out that he knew all along that everyone was going to die. So it was kind of her little contribution to the script, which I like. I love when there's a little bit of freedom in these types of deeper, heavier movies. And then the last fact I'll say is kind of to Peter's point of Mark Mylod. I love that you made this point in your argument, Peter, because if you look at his filmography, he's done a few movies, but not really. He did What's Your Number in 2011, which was like a rom-com with Katherine Hagel, I think. He did a movie called The Big White that I've never heard of. Ali G into House, which was in 2002. But besides that, the man's entire career is TV. So to see him step onto the horror stage with The Menu being the first like full horror movie he's ever directed and just kill it, I was a big fan of that. I will say I'm not overly surprised because his directorial credits for TV are all like really, really well-reviewed shows, except for a couple. Like he did the one episode of the Minority Report remake, which was awful. But everything else, like the last...
Gotta give it a try, though, right?
You do.
You know? You get that. Gotta give it a try.
Last of Us, one episode. Succession, he did 16 episodes of that show. He did 12 episodes of Shameless, both the British and the American. The Affair, Once Upon a Time. Entourage, 23 episodes of that. And he's slated to do an episode or two of the Harry Potter HBO series. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I was quite impressed that this was his first foray into horror movies, and it got nominated for several Golden Globes and several Oscars. Like, that's very impressive. Any other facts before I jump into whether one success? Please, Peter.
And I think it's very critical because I don't know that I would have enjoyed the movie had they been able to get the actress that they had planned on getting, which was Emma Stone. So apparently Emma Stone was tied up in some other thing, and that's the only reason it ended up being Anya Taylor-Joy. So that's just a little fact about it that I was like, huh. And
I will ask, is that because you think Emma Stone's kind of overrated, or you just don't think she would have fit the role? Because I agree with you on the second one, if that's what it is.
He's you better not be saying she's overrated.
No.
Are we having it out right now?
I think Emma Stone is incredible. I think sometimes Emma Stone spreads herself a little too thin. I think she does one too many movies, per whatever. I don't know. And maybe when did this movie come out? 2021?
2020.
I think 2022.
2022. So, I mean, it's possible that in the thick of it, it might not have felt like that. But I just think, I don't know. I mean, my hat's off to Anya Taylor-Joy. I thought she crushed it, and
She's great in
certainly,
this.
honestly, that's the thing is like everybody in this film really crushed it.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I don't think Emma would have fit this as well. Like when I'm trying to imagine her in this role, it just doesn't, the puzzle pieces don't come together as well as Anya. And I think Anya has like some kind of, I call it like ethereal, like in the Northman. She has that like vibe that's like you're both kind of like otherworldly and grounded. She's just got a magnetism that I think really fit this movie's overall tone better than anything I think Emma could have brought. Emma's fantastic. I mean, she just kind of brought that in Begonia.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if that would have been as good of a fit. Sorry,
Yeah.
Clay.
No, I just agree. The performances are awesome, but I'm sure we'll talk about them. Because my wife and I were both talking about Fiennes' performance. That scene in the office is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. There is like so much emotion in him when he's like delivering those lines, and he still delivers everything flatly, but you can like literally feel it all. It's crazy. And there's several scenes like that are that powerful. The guy who played Tyler, Nicholas Hoult, also acted his absolute balls off in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he had such crazy emotional scenes. One comedic kind of. It was a really good movie in terms of performances, but we'll get into what we actually think after.
Yeah. We have a little bit already, but that's good. We're almost there, people. The menu, this one's fun for me because initially not a success in America. It had a $1 million budget. It only made $38 million domestically, so technically not a success. It was like 1 point whatever. But internationally, and this is why this is fun to me because it usually doesn't happen this way. It made $41 million. So it made more money overseas than it did worldwide. And that's not common with this type of film. Usually what you see that from is like Avatar. The Avatar movies do incredible in China, especially in Asia for some reason. I don't know why. But they like knock it out of the park. But yeah, this movie did fantastic internationally. So it ended with a worldwide box office of 79.6 million, which made it a box office success, which was good. That is what I got for trivia. So we would love to hear first from Jeremy. You were on the attack. Did you lie? Did you lie your lion face off, or you actually like the menu?
Now, hey, you mistake me for some sort of scoundrel, and I think as a review of this film, I will just read the notes that I took while watching it. So first, Nicholas Hoult is immediately insufferable.
Great actor.
Yep. Happy to see a portrayal of food service workers as psychopaths. Great realism there. I feel like it needs to be said that scientifically there is no such thing as vegetables. That's just made up. Yeah. This is note number 4. I would kill a man to tell customers no at dinner. Now, this was obviously before they killed a man, but then I don't want to be a prick, but Nicholas Hoult doesn't know the right way to smell his wine. His nose is way too far away. He's not getting it. He's not getting anything good there.
Yep.
Number 6, and this is, I was so close to getting this out during the debate. The chef said he wouldn't serve bread, and then he serves tortillas. with the very next course. So that's something. I don't know. Number 7, is this movie actually incredible? Do they kill a guy at every dinner service? Later we find out, no. This one is special. Then this one, is the chef suggesting that all service industry workers can identify sex workers on site? Because I feel he was saying that, right? I'm pretty sure he was. Let's see. My next note I have written down here, just Tyler's bullshit. Just fantastic.
Chef's kiss for sure.
Yes, just beautiful. We love it. My next note is the best food is not made with love, but with an unhinged madness and spite. And that's just science right there. It's food science. Let's see. I already said the ratatouille moment with the cheeseburger. That's good. Number 12. I think we should all be so lucky as to die covered in chocolate and marshmallows. Right? And yeah. And finally, and this is the clincher, this movie is absolutely deranged and it rules. So there you go. There's my answer. Right. This movie rips, dude.
It totally rips.
I love that. Peter, what did you think? Did you lie, or are you actually a big fan of the menu?
I did not lie. I'm a huge fan of the film, and I keep going back to it and watching it because I just think it's that good. And I think every time that you watch it, you get a little bit more from it. You know, I'm sure there's probably a breaking point in that. It's probably a tipping point, but there's a lot tucked into it, and it moves not particularly fast, but I mean, it's moving at a clip where, especially if you're, going to bounce around and look at your phone or whatever, you're probably going to miss some pretty key details. But I'll admit that there was some things that I went back to in preparation for this and looked at other people's kind of deconstruction of it. And that part of it really didn't strike me as hard as it did until I saw somebody talking at length about it. It's like, here you have a creator, the artist, and what are they dealing with? They're dealing with the consumer. And then they took it a step farther and said, actually, the island itself was the artist, and that food in general is art, and we are the consumers, right? And, that might have been dragging a little too deep for me. But in general, I'm just such a fan of I already said in the debate, I love it when something is close quarters and, minimal sets. And then just the challenge of like, can you keep somebody's, I don't remember the runtime of this movie, but I don't think it's particularly long. What was it, like 100 minutes maybe?
I think it's like hour 47, something like that.
Yeah. So, I just think when you can hold somebody's attention like that, because going back to the way that you were trying to poke holes in it, I wonder if the night that I showed up, if I wasn't expecting something a little bit more eat the rich, something just maybe more in the vein of hide and seek, right? Where it's just going to be like all these like extraordinary kills, people being chased, going all the way back to like, I can't remember, what was that movie where they would take homeless people into the woods and chase them down and hunt them. So I think that might have been the reason that I wasn't lying about that. I walked out of there thinking that's a good movie when I saw it in the theater, but it wasn't until I watched it the second time at home that it really rose to the top. I was like, this isn't a good movie. This is an incredible movie. And I think Fiennes, just all of them. Again, I sort of said that. You have Judith Lightfoot in the movie, it works. And it works. Mm-hmm. Her role is what they cast her for is perfect. And to the trivia tip that you gave, there was apparently there was some other bits of improvisation in there, and some of the best improv came from Leguizamo and whoever was the actress sitting across from him. And I think also, you know what, my heart goes out to anybody who was shooting a film during those first years of COVID, because nobody knew what they were doing. And if you pulled off anything magnificent during that time, then I guess I might be adding like at minimum like an extra star just for having done it during that time.
Seriously,
it's on a list of movies. Like, I don't have a ton of people coming to me. Certainly not here in Costa Rica saying.
Well,
like,
it's hard to find you, dude. It is hard to find you.
But when people say to me, "Hey, man, I've hit my limit," or I don't know what to watch anymore, I'll say like, "Have you seen the menu?" And if they haven't, then I'm like, "You got to watch that." And I mean, that's a short list, right? I mean, it's a revolving list. Usually things that are like, fresher or whatever. But it's stayed on there a while because, as well as it did worldwide, I think there's still probably an F ton of people who haven't even seen it, let alone heard of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
Clay, you want to hop in there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I love this movie, so I was really excited that Peter suggested it. He gave me a pretty good list of options, and the menu jumped out at me. And it is debatably a little off-brand for this show, for sure, because it doesn't have speculative elements, but it's technically horror, and I believe it is 100% a horror film because its entire mission is that discomfort and that trap, like slowly closing on you, like you are a scallop in a net, essentially. Like and they're really good at. I love a slow burn too, Peter. And this one does it really well because it's still like a thriller kind of at its heart too. And so it has to have a little faster pace than like the Babadook or something like that. That's really slow. But they do a good job of accomplishing that through subtle ways that still allow it to feel like it's lower tension early on, I think. Like they get on the boat, and as soon as they get off the boat, something's up. Like you've already got tension between your characters immediately. So that's intrigue, and it's like a romantic intrigue. So most people love that. Most people can connect to that. And so you have that to go on, and then you have the sinister sort of background world clues. Like she's like very clearly not happy with Anya's character showing up, Margot. And from that moment on, you see it brought up again and again multiple times. She's very clearly not supposed to be there. But you still don't have any idea how sinister it's going to evolve. And I love the whole arc of the chef character. I mean, I feel like Ralph's Reiss finds, however you pronounce his name, finds whole direction was like, you are playing a man who is going to get revenge on everybody he despises, and a man who plans to die today. You know, like, and he had that energy, and at first you think it's like the intensity of his profession, and you realize it is so much deeper than that. And you realize that like through the character interactions with him and Margot, because he genuinely like, he's got enough, it makes him a really interesting kind of villain character. I mean, you could honestly see him as almost a hero in a way, depending on how you look at it. But it makes him interesting in that regard because it gives us just enough to kind of empathize with him. And I think they do that well with all the characters that they want to do that with. Like, you get that from Leguizamo's character a bit, and his companion, you get it a little, like, she's just getting killed because she's rich, literally. And she's just like, we don't get a lot about who she is as a person, but she doesn't seem like she deserves it nearly as much as some of the other people in the room.
Yeah.
I also gotta say the fact that the mother's single line is that one line where she's just like, he's a handsome boy from the corner of the room. That's literally
Yes,
her
so
only
good.
line, and it's so hilarious. Right before poor Jeremy blows his brains all over like the tarp in front of the kitchen. So yeah, it's a wild movie. It's a fun ride. I think it accomplishes the slow burn while having plenty of like character centric and like tension based intrigue, because it's paced really, really well. The dialogue is very solid. The character dynamics are believable, but also outrageous to like go along with where the movie ends up landing, which is right in the middle of Crazy Town. So that's what I have to say about it.
All right. I will kind of echo everybody's thoughts. I love this movie. And we're playing with the solo layout there. I love this movie. I can't really add too much more than everyone's already said. I love, Peter, that you brought up your rebuttal to one of Jeremy's comments against it. I 100% agree with that. Like, is it Leguzma? I'm so bad with names.
Leguizamo. John
Leguizamo. Thank you. I'm terrible. Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo's character. Love him as an actor, by the way. I think it is the best comment. It makes Ralph Fiennes a villain, because until that moment, you're like, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be going about it this way, but like these people suck. But then it gets to like, yeah, you upset me with a bad movie. It's like that guy. I don't know if that guy deserves to die.
No, that one was the most bananas, but
I thought that was very bananas and very cool. Because it does cool in the sense of the writing. It turns you towards like, oh, he's just as bad as a lot of these people being that petty.
Yeah, that was a good point, Peter.
Yeah, I will say, I think to be an awards season nerd a little bit, this movie landed in a really good year, and that's unfortunate for it. It came out at the same time as All Quiet on the Western Front, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, Triangle of Sadness, The Fabelmans. Rough year to be contending for an award.
How did this movie not win Best Comedy?
I would.
Some bullshit, dude.
This is some bullshit. I would have snuck it in there though, because I do think this movie is way better than Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, and that got in there. And I would have taken Elvis out and put the menu right in, because it was fantastic. We'll talk more about it in the question section, but that's generally agree. I think it's fantastic. Ralph Fiennes is amazing. Another kind of nerdy moment. People, I think, are forgetting about Ralph Fiennes because it was so iconic. Okay, when I say people, I mean younger age people, younger even than me. Generations are like, oh yeah, Voldemort. And I'm like, this man's his sixth movie ever was Schindler's List. Like, Ralph Fiennes is one of the greatest actors of all time, bar none. He's
incredible,
insanely good at what he does. So anytime I see him on a movie poster, I'm like, all right, I'll watch that. Yeah, that is.
There is like a short list of actors and actresses where you see them and that kind of sells you on the movie, because you also kind of trust they do projects that are at their level most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite things is when I see an actor I really like in an indie movie. I'm like, all right, I want to see like what was interesting enough about this indie movie that like, Brad Pitt did it, Jesse James, like that's exactly what drew me to it.
They'll take pocket change to be in something because they know it's like a labor of love.
Right, exactly. They got to like the script. They got to like they got to like what the director's about. Something like that is happening. So that's always interesting. But yeah, generally pick what you watch by directors and writers, right? But there are some of those actors that kind of push it over for me. Do you have any of those, Peter? Any favorite actors that kind of make you want to watch a movie all by themselves?
Well,
Then
I
we'll go to
mean,
break.
I'll tell you, just to keep it on the menu, though he did blow the wine sniffing. Nicholas Holt.
I mean,
Holt
that's perfect for his character, though. Honestly,
but he as an actor is fast becoming somebody who I've just been very impressed with, and he seems, at least so far, to be very discerning about what roles he'll take. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there definitely are some. Right now, though, I got to tell you, I'll take us out to break on this. I recently decided that if you can watch a Tom Cruise movie on an airplane, that you should, because I think it protects you from an air crash. I'll just leave it at that. This is my new theory.
Tom Cruise can't even die on set, like on a screen. Like he's never going to be able to do it because he's tried. Just blessed by the film gods.
If you're on a plane and there is a Tom Cruise movie, you don't got to even watch the whole thing. Just check out 10 minutes. It's like a protection spell. This is what I'm pitching right now.
All right.
Okay. Download a library of Tom Cruise gifs and just play them periodically. Does that have to be
like a Mission Impossible or an action thing, or will Jerry Maguire do it?
Any Tom Cruise movie. Okay. I don't know where the intersection is so far, but it's like Scientology, just his belief that he is God. I mean, that's not his real belief, but like it kind of comes off
speaking
as
for
like
Tom Cruise.
God, Yeah. I am. I'm speaking. If not me, who? If not me, then who?
That's a good point, Peter. That's a good point. Certainly not us. Those are Peter's words.
Correlation and causation. Like I've never been in a plane crash while watching a Tom Cruise movie.
Same.
I haven't either.
I've also never watched a Tom Cruise movie on an airplane, and I still haven't been in a plane crash.
I mean, you're still in that Venn diagram, okay? So
I'm in there somewhere. I am.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of.
Could be somebody else is watching it.
That's true.
On the plane.
Yeah, that's probably what's keeping me safe. You're right. You're right. Well, luckily, Tom Cruise is very prolific, as we try to be, and we're going to bring you a whole nother hour of content on the other side of this 5-minute break. Thanks for rocking with us. Peter, thanks for being here, brother. Go ahead and turn off your camera and your mic for this part, and then that'll kick you off the screen. We're all going to do the same. We'll see y'all. Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains, like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie,
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
everybody
exactly what he made.
Chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then, like, I will say another pro of this movie is, like, their chemistry is hot. And, like, I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been like, ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Like, fuck. And he's like, and then later when they, like, are, like, kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was, like, two lesser actors, I think it would have been, like an eye roll, like, felt cheesy, but, like, you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending like, you know, Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah. Dedicate
You're
that time. You're willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so
life.
good. That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible.
Yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's friggin' go, boys.
Do all three of them, motherfuckers.
Do them.
Yeah.
Do them. I will say two things before I ask questions about both our 5-minute break video and your intro video you made, Clay. One, I hope the audience agrees. I think my mustache looks better than it used to.
I think we can all get behind that.
Thank you. And two, I love that you time in the intro video the comment from P. Jelly Clark that's like, this show gives me heartburn. You made it so it seems like he's talking about our show, and I think
He's not. He's talking about the Wheel of Time.
He's talking about the Wheel of Time, but I love that it's like, oh yeah, fermented fiction will give you heartburn for sure.
Oh yeah,
it was great. Well done.
Fantastic.
Well edited, Clayton.
Thanks. I hope it's an edit that P is behind.
Because he's in there.
He's been on the show, so you know. I think he's seen the intro. He didn't say anything.
I think he's good with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a misquote. I think it's just a tactically applied quote. You know?
Yeah. You got to tactically apply those quotes.
Absolutely.
Now, my first question, I'm going to acknowledge that we're circling around a lot of topics that we have in previous episodes, and we're going to get to the point now in season 3 and 4 that's just the reality. Okay. But I want to narrow in on certain things. So I want to talk about character development, which we've talked about a lot. Specifically, though, I think with this movie, there's something beautiful about the amount of menace that Fiennes portrays. And that is like a huge element in horror of like menacing characters who can create the level of discomfort that is necessary for you to be committed to like the horror, where it's not too much to where you're like, I don't want to read any more of this because I'm just like rejecting the discomfort, but it's enough that you're like, like this eerie feeling I get, I want more of. And I think I'd like to talk about two aspects. First, the writing aspect of like, from you as authors, how do you write menace? Hopefully that's not too vague. How do you go about kind of making people have a sense of dread from your books and from your stories? And two, with movies, where do you see like the best performances? And if you could try and maybe articulate, what do you think it is that makes a character truly menacing on the screen? And we'll start with you, Peter.
Peter, define menace as applied to the literary format.
I mean, I think first and foremost, in creating characters that are menace, there's probably two ways you can go. You can go the route of having somebody who's just off their rocker, right? Like all the time. So if you're doing, say, a villain who is in the mad scientist realm, right? Or if the villain happens to be a drug addict or something like that, right? Then they're just constantly flying off the handle. They're creating chaos, right? Their body language is chaos. And obviously that's not what we have in this. What we have here is like control. And to a certain extent, control is its own form of menace, right? Because certainly coming from me, like I had to learn very early on that I don't control shit, right? So, I mean, on the one hand, anybody who thinks that they can control a situation, every detail, every aspect of it is inherently a little bit off their rocker, right? Because that doesn't exist. And then of course we see that in this film once I just blanked on what her character's name is, Margot, shows up in it, right? Something that he wasn't expecting for. In terms of like, how do you portray that? I think in that realm, like you were just having somebody, at least if I was trying to write that character, I would be like, here is a guy who has nothing left to lose, but that doesn't mean that he's going to go out the door and just turn into a raving lunatic, right? So walking that line of like saying things that are inherently truthful, that resonate with somebody, they're addressing the things that everybody is feeling, or saying the things that people wish that they could say. And I think as long as you're evaluating that against that at least in his case, he knows that there's an end to that evening for even him, right? So when you have nothing left to lose, how does that come to life in what you're saying? How does that come to life, I guess, when I'm writing on a page? I think it kind of sometimes goes hand in hand with feeling like control, because you're just very matter of fact. You're not trying to camouflage, the evil that you're doing. As long as it takes to get to the part where we realize what he's going to do for that evening, he's not really hiding it. I mean, he's turned it into kind of a game. So I guess there's a little bit of a villain kind of thing there too, right? Like there's a bit of menace in creating the game and hoping that the people that you've deemed are below you or are not operating on the same mental level as you. How long will it take for them to catch up? And then in terms of like in film, it's crazy. I just saw this clip today of Gary Oldman. He was being interviewed by one of the talk show hosts. I'm forgetting which one. And he's played so many amazing villains. And he right there during the interview just showed this move that he does. I'm going to try to do it, but honestly, I'm going to blow it. He's like, if you want to look menacing on film, you look up with your head and then your eyes. See, I didn't do it very well. You should splice in Gary Oldman doing that, because holy crap.
I think I saw that it was Stephen Colbert that was interviewing him.
Yeah, right. And I mean, Gary Oldman nails it. How many times does he practice that? I have no idea. But like, as soon as he said that, I was like, crap, yeah, that works. Right. Like, I mean, in that interview, he's not looking like a villain. In fact, if anything, he's looking like a man who's, getting old. But in that moment, when he showed Colbert that move, I was like, that's incredible. Right. I mean, and in that office scene that you were talking about, again, you have a guy, he's talking, he's not losing his shit, but it's all in the face and in the eyes. And that is one of the things that makes him, and everybody in the movie, like, in fact, one of the other things that was interesting when I was looking into it is like Anya Taylor-Joy, she doesn't actually say that much in this movie. She has like, I think maybe it might not be the least number of lines for the entire cast, But for the major players, and yet, you know, you're not feeling everything that she's going through. You're not getting what she's feeling without her saying it. So I don't know. For me, you know, I don't spend my books often revolve around people who are very just regular people who've been put in situations that turn them into menacing characters, right? Because I don't know, I'm fascinated by the fact that in developing my last book, I was reading quite a bit about serial killers, and I was reading about violent acts, and essentially the idea that any one of us, under the right circumstances, could do something that we wouldn't normally see ourselves doing in terms of, you know, hurting somebody or killing somebody. And that to me is like, just kind of, again, I know that he is a chef and he's very famous and he's dealing with all these rich people, which makes him a little bit more than a regular Joe, but it's just another component of it for me, where it's like watching somebody who, for all intents and purposes, is actually just like a human being working his job, serving, you know, making money, living a life that he dreamed of, and still snapping and doing it in a way that initially feels kind of quiet and methodical, and just having that control until he doesn't. And then even then, I guess you could argue that he keeps the control, because obviously he still ends up killing everybody he meant to, including himself. So
yeah, I think you've got it. Like, the difference between like being, because I think of menace as like a subgenre of being like scary, because any yuts can be scary.
Not that it matters, and we can interpret it however we want, but the definition of menace is a person or thing that is likely to cause harm, threat, or danger. So,
well, exactly. And I think it's the thing that, like, being menacing as a vibe is that it's like on purpose. Like, it's similar to like when you share bad news with somebody, or like something that's just a really unfortunate part of your backstory. So you try to tell it calmly, and that's like the thing that makes it scarier, is that you're being calm about this horrible thing that happened. It's like, because, you know, there are a lot of villains that are like crazy and over the top, and they are definitely dangerous and scary. But like, the difference with being menacing is that they're not being crazy. It's not like Ralph Fiennes in this doesn't do a crime of passion. He's doing this very deliberately and methodically, and he's not doing this because somebody thwarted his plans. This is the plan. Like, he's not being, well, he's being a bit irrational, but like, he's being very intentional, and I think that is the secret sauce for menace, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because like, anybody can go crazy and do a lot of damage, but when somebody's just choosing to, that's different.
Well, and I
especially
think that
when it's with the truth, right? Like, there's that aspect
Right.
of like, it feels that much more menacing when they're telling you something that you can't say isn't true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because then it's less about just being psycho, and more about being almost a force, you know, a force for change, a force for good.
Mhm.
And that, I think, often feels menacing, even if the end result was something actually good.
Yeah, that's true.
Go ahead, Clay.
I do kind of agree that a lot of menace is about the implication of violence. At least in my mind, that's sort of where I am separated from just a straight up threat. Like, I always go to Game of Thrones because it's easy for me, but like, Tywin Lannister is the best example of this I can think of. Like, he doesn't have to do anything crazy to be super threatening, and to me, that's like what menace is. And the chef is a perfect example of that definition of menace, because he has such an intensity about him, and you can see it in when he first looks at Anya Taylor-Joy, and in every other moment. He's got complete command of his kitchen and his environment. So like, one of the most threatening situations you can be in is a situation where you have neither power nor any idea what's going on. And that's basically where we find Margot in this movie, unfortunately. And she's resourceful and she does everything she can to make the best of that situation. But the menace is really strong in the menu from start to finish, just because it does maximize that. You don't have to say it in plain English. You don't have to say it right to our face for us to understand that we're in danger. And to me, that's kind of what makes Menace work for me. Your other part of the question was how to portray it.
Yeah, at least in books, or like, what's one of your favorite portrayals? I guess in shows, which you already talked about, Tywin. But how do you write it?
Yeah, I mean, I do think a lot of it's about like how much control over the situation does your main character have relative to whoever you want to be the threat, right? So like in the menu, for example, if we're viewing Margot obviously as our protagonist, she has very little power here, but ironically, she has the most power because she actually relates to the chef the most. She's the least impressed by him, and therefore the most able to like say what he really needs to hear. And I think there's like a really nice healing moment in there through the characters that comes as a result of that menace kind of looming over the entire film. I think menace in character has to feel inevitable to some degree. And the chef kind of does. Like, you don't feel like you can overcome him. You don't feel like you can get the better of him. It's like when you play a video game and a character enters the level or whatever, and you're like, I already know I'm not ready to fuck with that character. Like, I have to avoid that character at all costs. That just became the mission of this level. Unless you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, because it's just like, you can go over there if you want. And then you do, and you get absolutely annihilated. Or Dark Souls,
yeah. Then you just get your balls rocked. It's great.
You sure do.
It's crazy, right? The way you defined it makes sense. And what came into my mind is like, as a kid, you had people who loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the movie that really terrified the F out of me was The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
And that is, in my opinion, like pure menace. And it hadn't dawned on me until you were, talking about it. It's like, because you, from the get-go, you don't think you're gonna that C. Thomas Howell is gonna win. You know what I mean? Like, this is an inevitability, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these moments in the Game of Thrones character as well, as like, you can just pepper it with something very violent, very rash, that maybe you don't see coming. Right. And I think you sort of maybe had that in The Hitcher. Maybe you have it a bit in the menu. But you're just really working up that whole time to the end. And you're just feeling that constant propulsion. And it's a quiet one,
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever been around somebody like that in real life, somebody who carries that, yeah, I have. And they always are the person that I am most worried about, like I don't know, like, oh, he's coming tonight. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I won't. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you do, and it's a good time. You never know.
I think you pointed, Peter, to something that I really appreciated. Of like, I think when we think about menace, we most often put it in a negative context, because it is like people being able to threaten or do violence is a scary thing. But I think you're right that it actually there can be like a menace of a positive person. Like, and I'm thinking of I recently watched one of the best adaptations of a biblical story I've ever seen. This TV show called The House of David. It still has its flaws, but in the in the canon of Christian film, it's like 10 out of 10.
Just absolutely.
Because that is
slaying.
The bar
very
is
low.
so low.
The bar
It is
the floor.
subterranean.
It is subterranean. So like Bible Stories, House of David, the show on Amazon is pretty phenomenal. And it portrays a character from the Bible, Samuel, who is that kind of, I think, positive menace of like, he's working for God, who in the Bible is the protagonist, but he's like got that power that when he enters a room and Saul's like, you can't tell me what to do, he doesn't have to say anything. He just like holds his staff and is like, I'm kind of working for God. So it's like, Saul, you can flash your sword around all you want. It ain't going to do shit. Like, that's a positive menace. And then another thing you said kind of reminded me of Breaking Bad. Clayton and I just talked about this. I think you're right. There is like a frenetic menace. And you see that with like Tuco, who's this crazy off the wall. Like you never know when he's going to pull his guns and shoot someone. And that's menacing because you never know when the rabid dog is going to go off the leash.
You don't want to be in the room with that guy.
You don't want to be in a room with Tuco. But then there's Gus. And like Gus is going to sit down and have a business meeting with you in a chicken restaurant and make you feel like, oh, I could die. Like right now. I might die. So I think you're right that there's both a positive and negative menace, and then there's the frenetic and the sort of calm menace. And then this leads to my next question. I think a lot of that boils down to presence. And presence, I feel like, is a lot easier. Maybe I'm wrong. Easier to display in film because you have the physicality of like a Ralph Fiennes who can walk into a room and have that magnetism. You have an Anton Chigurh-like character where you get Javier Bardem who just controls the scenario. Let me know if you agree or disagree that it's easier on film. But I don't know. How do you establish presence of a character in a book? Because that seems like it's a tough sell. Like without just telling, without just expositioning, like when he walked in the room, everyone turned. It's like, I know there's characters where I felt it, where it's like the way he's described or she, the way they're described walking in, it like immediately pulls attention of like, this is the person that everyone's afraid of. But yeah, how do you go about that with writing, or where have you seen it best displayed of like a character that just commands the presence of the scenario? We'll start with you again, Peter.
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think in a book if I have an example, and I'm only pulling from like the last 5 or 6 books that I've read because they're fresh in my mind. But I think in a more general sense, you can establish the presence through the actions, so if you're trying to communicate to your reader that this is the guy who is not to be trifled with, this is the guy who maybe not right away, but at some point is going to be in control of whatever situation, I don't think that that's terribly difficult. I am somebody who thinks it probably, I'll just go ahead and say, I think it probably is easier on film if you have the right actor or actress for the role, because I mean, there's a lot going on in a face that can immediately communicate that. And so maybe you don't have to wait for the action, right? Because I mean, at least for me, I'm not a writer who does a lot of over description. In fact, I would probably say some people think I don't do enough description. But certainly when it comes to describing the physicality and even the facial details of my characters, I'm always hoping that it's their actions are actually forming a visual in the reader's mind. And so one of two things can happen. Either they can assign some things to that character based off of however they perceive menace, or somebody they've known in their life that's menacing, or maybe they're drawing from film itself to create some sort of visual interpretation of it. But what I actually find is, and I think this is hard to do, but I think I've done it once, where I heard from enough people on my last book that even though there wasn't a ton of description, so well, I don't want to give that away, but there's a character in the book, in Future Skinny, that comes in later, and I just wondered, as people were telling me about it, like, how did you see that person? What did they look like to you? Because there isn't, other than the color of his eyes, there wasn't really much else going on in terms of his physicality. And most of them had a pretty similar description of him. And I think it was based off of his actions, right? So the example I guess I would give is, like, let's say you have a family, you're opening up, you're out on a farm. Maybe there's a minor familial argument going on. Maybe it's about the dog. You have the character that you're setting up for later to become the menace kind of comes in, and it's like, it's really, in that scenario, probably no harder than having them immediately deal with the dog, right? Or immediately deal with whatever everybody else was incapable of solving, right? Or was letting turn into a situation that was getting out of control. Because again, I think it kind of comes down to, like, who's in control here. So I think if you had a family of 5 and they're sitting bickering, and then all of a sudden the old man comes in, or maybe it's the grandfather, or maybe it's the mother, whoever it is, and they just come in and they establish control, right? And the people listen to them. And maybe it's what they say in that situation. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything, in my opinion, like overtly profane or necessarily aggressive. It's just like you're letting your reader know this is the person who's going to control the narrative going forward. But I've certainly read other books that maybe weren't my favorite, where they just lay it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's different, not easier. And I would do so on the grounds that if you think anything about making a film is easy, you are incorrect. And
Let them tell them.
To accomplish the level of execution on all the different like layers of creative crossroads, like creative crossover that you have to pull off a film like The Menu. I said that really, really badly. But to do that is extremely difficult and extremely rare. As someone who has been to a lot of film festivals and watched a lot of indie films, and I mean indie films, like there's certainly good ones out there. I'm not trashing them all by any means. I've seen tons of excellent indie films, but I've seen a lot of people who that's your first movie. That's your second movie. Each of those movies had a combined budget of $682. And like, that'll happen. And like, to execute on that level, where the lighting has to be right, the sound has to be perfect. Like sound, there's no room for error in sound. If you have bad sound, bad audio, bad ADR, like that will be noticed by the audience, even subconsciously. So I definitely.
Ralph Fiennes could give the performance of a lifetime, but if he's shot like shit, there's no presence. Is that kind of?
I don't know about with Ralph Fiennes. I think he could overcome a lot of bad production. But like, yes, I mean, if you can't hear what he's saying, because his lavalier mic was broken and they only had enough to pay him for one day on set, it probably wouldn't be his best performance, Now that said, I'm not saying it's easier to write. That's extremely difficult too. But like getting it portrayed is the art. That is the work. That is what you're like striving to accomplish, and it's difficult. But at the heart of it, I think they use kind of the same methods. Just in a film, you have visuals, and on the page, you have description through prose, and they're both just very different art forms. I do think that more people probably watch things than read. So you do have that like level of saying it's easier to maybe get a larger audience for it than it is for a really good book. Even the best books, like their readership is probably quite small compared to like the most high achieving movies. You know, I don't know if that's accurate though. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chime off in the comments. But yeah, I don't really think it's easier. I think it is very different, but you use the same kind of like you put the same kind of meat on the same kind of bones. Like they do a real well written movies follow many of the same structural tendencies as well written books. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of hints dropped in this when they arrive. They get to the boat. You see Anya Taylor-Joy very clearly watching the boat leave. And that has a very ominous feeling. And then they drop some music into it. In a book, you would just describe something about how it left, something about the weather, something about the environment, something about the tone of the lady who checked you in and how concerned she was that you were not the name she had on her sheet, how much that mattered to her. Just subtle actions and movements in her face or whatever you do to make that a noticeable but still subtle indication of danger and tension. And it can rise from there with good dialogue and good character interaction. So I think this movie does all those things, and any good book I've read does that stuff well as well. I think that's just good storytelling regardless of the format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with everyone except for Travis, because
What
you
did I
have
say?
to
I
have.
didn't even say anything yet.
He hasn't even talked yet. I do
No,
disagree
he's-
with that, Travis. You
I
should have
asked
talked
the
by
question.
Yeah, you asked the question in a leading way that you said, "Hey, we're free to disagree with it," and that's what I'm doing. Come on, guy,
I
pay
didn't,
attention.
but I made a point. Go ahead.
Pay attention. Goodness.
Opinion, Jeremy.
Yeah, but no, like I do not think it is easier in film because you have to have a phenomenal actor to carry off a menacing presence. Every single one of your examples were crazy good actors, but like you've seen way more movies, presumably, where like the villain was just you're like, what? Why is like this villain is not scary? Why did you get this actor to play this villain? That's just wrong. That's
Speaking
just
of John
wrong.
Leguizamo.
Speaking of John Leguizamo, hey, he's a great actor. Villain, he is not.
Villain.
He's a great best friend character, a great washed up actor. He's incredible. But in writing, I think Clay touched on this. Well, he basically just said it. It's like finding those areas to add that sort of cognitive dissonance, where like something about what people are doing conflicts with like what's going on. Like there's the easy one to pick out is like the kitchen staff is like all calm and business as usual up to the point and after the point where people are like where they're like chopping off fingers and people are dropping dead and people's bank accounts are being printed on tortillas. Like this should not be okay. And additionally, I mean, I wouldn't call Nicholas Holt's character menacing, but he also displays that where he's like just fine with everything that's going on beyond the point where you can just dismiss it as him being oblivious. And it's just and you find out that yeah, he knows what's going on and he showed up anyway like a psychopath. Well, not like like
He's
a
just
psychopath.
happy to be there. He's just happy to be there.
He's so stoked
What
to
a-
be there up
what a
until
final
he
experience.
really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And up until
Well, I'm gonna try to dig myself out of the hole because I said it was easier to do it on film.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing with you too, Peter.
Well,
Yeah.
here's
Please,
the
Jeremy.
thing. I didn't say it was easy to do it good.
Right.
What I'm saying is like you can do it more efficiently, right? And even Clay, you were just saying music. I mean, just having the benefit of music alone. If the question was like, is it easier to establish menace in a film than it is in a book? then I think technically it is easier to establish menace in a film. Granted, you need an amazing actor for it to come off great, but I could watch a really shitty film and be like, "That's the menace." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would be like,
sure.
I could see that.
But it wouldn't affect you. It wouldn't affect you. You wouldn't feel menaced.
No,
you would just
more like you just
identify
have-
where the menace was.
Yeah,
it's just more like in film you have more tools to use, but like
and more ways to fail.
You can't
Nothing
make a
about
duck
film
look like
makes
a
you-
horse, but
No.
you can. So
I certainly wasn't saying anything about film is easy. I think if we roll the tape back, I might be wrong, but I think I said it seems that
You did. You were very cautious about
said
it,
it
and
seems
you were
that
right
it's easy.
to be so.
But I do think, to Peter's point, like the visual medium, like we have more senses, like reading. We're using our sight, but we're using our sight to like create an image in our own brains that maybe or maybe won't be menacing depending on how we interpret the text. Like that's hard. That's a really difficult thing to like say the words where most people are going to interpret it the way that you want it to come off. That seems more difficult for menace to me. I think the visual medium of film is like, yes, 100% super hard to pull off. You have to get all the atmosphere with all the elements correct. But when it's done right, it's like almost more immediately menacing. Like I think about even a movie that I don't think is a great film. I think it ends terribly. We've talked about it on the show before, is Dark Knight Rises. One of Christopher Nolan's only misses, in my opinion. But there's a scene in that where, and Clay and I have talked about this. I forget his name, but the one like business guy who thinks he's like running Bane's operation, like goes to Bane and he's like, "I'm in charge," and Bane just like puts his hand on his shoulder, like
so
palm
good.
up,
It's
and
so
he's like,
good.
"Do you feel in charge?" Like that's his line. And in a book, you'd have to do a
great
lot
line
to convey that what's going on with the action. But in a movie, you just see it. You see like Tom Hardy's intimidating figure, the open palm, the like facial expression of the guy as soon as he's touched, of like, "Oh no, I'm not in charge." That menace comes off in an instant, which I think is something that film can do that maybe
that is an excellent example.
That's a great example.
Yeah, Tom Hardy is a fantastic villain in that most mediocre of that franchise.
Yes, which is still good. It's just it has.
I think though, just even as an example of like an action that isn't really that big of a deal that still communicates menace, because they could have played that where that guy popped off about "I'm in charge" and Bane, immediately punched him or threw him across the room or whatever. But just putting that hand on him. I mean, I was laughing especially hard at that example because last fall I started making these really crude videos where I would take film clips and superimpose my friend Amir's face on it. So I had done one with from No Country for Old Men, and I had done one I think from Gladiator, and it was always my friend in the position of like about to be in trouble. The last one I did was I took my friend's face and put it on The Businessman, right? And then I just had Bane going, "Do you feel in charge?" And I sent it to him, and he wrote me. He's like, "I don't like these anymore. I don't want you to start." So I'm saying like that.
Perfect.
That really had that kind of power. That even just as a joke, he was like, "Yeah, you've taken this too far."
Yeah, I gotta find this actor.
You're menacing.
I Ben Mendelsohn, and I'm doing a disservice to him because he's a great actor. But Ben Mendelsohn plays the Daggett who thinks he's in charge and then dies pretty quickly. I do think a lot of it's about atmosphere. And I've asked about atmosphere on the show before, but I don't want to get too far into that because I have one question that I really want to ask that I'm surprised I haven't asked before. But speaking of atmosphere, speaking of presence, speaking of menace, I would love to hear all of your opinions. What is the most essential element of horror? The thing that you look for Of all the things that make something horrific, that you think like, yeah, if you take this out of it, I'm no longer horrified. And I can fill some empty space if we need some time to think. But Peter, we're going to toss this one to you first. But
I mean, it
Peter,
might be,
define horror.
well, I'm gonna define it for myself, right? Because for me, I love a lot of horror, but I probably don't like a lot of horror that other people like when it lacks truth. And so to me, true horror comes from exposing and or mining some truth about the human condition that comes out in any number of insane creative ways. But when it's missing that, sure, it's still going to be on the horror shelf, or it's going to be in the horror section on a streaming or whatever. I guess I'm the only one still heading down to Blockbuster, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if it doesn't have that element of it, if you haven't somehow taken something that's essentially human and turned it ugly, or revealed it for how ugly it is within, and you could take something, you could do that with Frankenstein, you could do that with, you don't have to invent something new in order to do that, but you can also invent something that's never been done before. So that's my answer. I think if you have a horror film and it's lacking some sort of essential truth, if it's not grounded in something that resonates within you, then how can it really be horror? Because then it for me, ceases to be terrifying. There's my answer.
I think that's a great answer, and I honestly have a very similar one, because I do think it's about just the human condition, and revealing like what's inside of us, what exists as a result of us, and a lot of horror comes from one of those two things for me, like the humanity holding a mirror up to itself is usually what horror boils down to at the end of the day, whether that's represented by a creature, whether that's represented by a serial killer, whether that's represented by somebody who's crossing lines and boundaries that they never thought they would cross, to try to save themselves or save their family or save whoever. It reveals what we'll do for that. It reveals how we will be cruel to each other. It reveals the outside obstacles that people have to overcome on a daily basis, and all the trials and tribulations they have to go through to do so. And I really just think it accomplishes it in a way that's different than like someone going on a big quest or something, because horror often lives at home with you. I think at least my favorite horror is the type of horror that lives at home with you. It comes to your home, like that's the scariest thing for me, is wherever you feel like you should be safe and secure, horror disrupts that and forces characters to try to set it back to where it was when they were more comfortable, more happy. Not all characters obviously start from a happy place, but maybe I should say more content, or at least more adapted to their situation. People settle into those ruts and it's hard to get out, so a lot of characters start from a lower point. Even those characters at some point in the story oftentimes are like, man, I wish I was just mopping floors again, compared to where I am right now. So yeah, I don't know if that fully answers your question, but that's kind of what I think my favorite type of horror usually comes from.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think for me, there are two necessary elements that kind of need to be there for like horror to be great. The first and possibly most necessary element is an element of believability, not necessarily in like the believability of what happens, because like supernatural horror and whatever can be incredible, but like more like just the believability of the characters, just writing consistent characters. That's probably my most needed thing in any type of story, is that like the characters are being consistent. But like especially in horror, there's this second thing, this second ingredient to the secret sauce of great horror, which is the theoretical way out of the horrific scenario. Because, like, if there's no hope for anybody, then there's not really any reason for me to, like, care about what happens for the rest of the story. Like, if everyone's just totally boned from beginning to end, like, that's not interesting to me. It might as well just be watching The Hills Have Eyes.
Sure. Which a lot of people think is pretty scary.
Yeah.
But it is
Okay.
all... And I agree with you, Jeremy. In believability specifically, that's like a huge one for me as well. And all believability is relative to the story in which you've chosen to embark and invest your time. You know, like you accept that as a viewer or a reader, kind of knowing what things are going to be or what you at least expect them to be, and then in horror, like your expectations to that audience that come into a horror film, I think is just to like make them feel unsettled, make them feel thoughtful. I think those are the two most important ones for me, but I don't know what you think about that, Peter. People, to me, I want people to feel unsettled and thoughtful. Like I want introspection and thought. And I want people to have fun. Like I do think it's fun to be scared. And I think most people actually, maybe not most, but a lot of people certainly agree with that. Like it's just, people like roller coasters for the same reason they like horror. You know, it's kind of a little adrenaline boost.
Totally. Yeah. And I think I agree with Jeremy too. Like if there isn't that theoretical way out, it's very hard. You can watch something that's extremely inventive, but I don't know that you're going to go back to it. You know, it's going to fall off the wayside somewhere along the way. It's not going to be the thing that you probably recommend, at least obviously within genre fiction and certainly in horror fiction. You know, I'm not even going to like shame or name movies, but there have been some movies to come out in the last 5 years that have gotten a lot of people excited in the horror genre that I just, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch it, you know, and I'm just like, I don't see the believability. And again, Jeremy, like Supernatural, my book, What the Dead Can Do, is literally about dead people trying to figure out how to possess the living in order to kill their still living son and bring him to the afterlife, right? That's entirely farcical and as fantastical and supernatural as you can get. But I think I did it in a believable way. And probably, Clay, I think a big part of it is that it's the characters and what they're going through that is believable and that grounds it, you know. And I've only had a few people. I actually had one review. It was still 3 stars, but the woman had sort of panned it, even though she gave it 3 stars. It was kind of one of the harsher ones to come through. And it was nuts because she said 80% in when I finally got to this ridiculous premise. And I'm like, that's right up there from the gate. It took you 80% to realize how ridiculous this premise was.
The premise was.
I mean, it's on the cover. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think you'll be out there and probably find people who hold up other things that don't have those elements and would still say it's horror. But I think one of you said, is it good horror? You know?
Yeah.
I guess that's the
difference. If I can wax a little philosophical here, as I'm wont to do, and
please do
count this as my pretentious question of the week. I think I like what you said, Clay, about the like thoughtfulness and what was the other word you used? Suspense? No.
He said
Clay.
Fun.
I don't know, something like that.
Fun, thoughtful, and suspenseful. I'd say dread. I would say like people don't just have fun with dread. I think you're right. Like it is kind of fun to be afraid. But I read a book recently that has really affected my viewpoint on a lot of things that talks about ancient myths across religions and how like the language that people used to use points often to there's like a difference between time and space being like very structured, time being very chaotic. And it talks about them as a dichotomy, but it doesn't say that. It says space is the place you're supposed to live in the most, but time is also necessary, and we need like little pieces of time and chaos in our lives. Like we need almost, it's like a vaccine is what they compared it to a virus that's coming. And I think dread is actually incredibly necessary in our art, because we need to like get little doses of fear so that when fear actually happens in our lives, we're able to handle it a little better, because we've had like microdoses of these things that are dreadful and fearful and terrifying. And like people get that in macro doses in real life, which is sad. But like the people who don't have lives that are just wrought with fear, we can still understand them as emotions. And it's actually healthy for us to get little tiny pieces of like, oh, I can go to the movie theater and I can experience for 2 hours like true dread. And that way I know what that feels like. And so if it happens in my life, I'm not coming into it blind. Like I'm not getting infected with this virus brand new. And I thought that was like a really beautiful way that person put it of, you know, chaos is inherently, we don't want that to like dominate our lives, but having just tinges of it on the outskirts is actually going to help us in the long run, just like a vaccine is going to like give you a little bit of the virus so that when the virus comes, you are ready for it. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I think horror can be that, of like a beautiful little antidote to the actual dreadful things in life of like, oh, I've experienced this in my imagination so that when I see it in real life, it's not as terribly powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it truly prepares you for anything, for sure. But I do think it is certainly healthy psychologically to explore darker literature and happier literature and literature of all kinds. I do think horror is a particularly honest brand of speculative fiction. I think it's the most, to me, I've said before, in many ways, I think it's the most honest. And that's part of what I love the most about it. It's just always so character centric, because if you don't have empathetic characters that your audience cares about, then there are no stakes. If we don't care that people die, then horror can't exist. So I agree with you about dread. I think that is absolutely a necessary ingredient. We have to have a little bit of fear for our characters in some way. It doesn't even be that they're going to have to die. It could be that she has to stay on the island and work for the chef forever or die. What would be a worse fate, you know, and what would she choose? And that would be a whole different movie. But however you manufacture that dread into or infuse your story with it, like it's definitely a critical part of telling something scary.
Now, Jeremy, I saved it for the end, but you said you have one bullshit question for everybody, and I'd love to hear that.
Yes, I do have one bullshit question.
I'm also listening. I'm going to go off camera for a second.
Yeah, I believe you.
That's some bullshit right there.
That is some bullshit, a little bit.
How disrespectful. You know? Hey, Jeremy, go ahead and have your question.
Yeah, go ask your question.
I don't really have time for this
I'm just going to fuck off a little bit. And
I'm back.
Peter
I'm back.
Hey,
talking
back.
Shit. I heard it all. I heard all the shit talking. I got the pods in right here. I knew.
I'm glad you heard, frankly.
What was your bullshit question, Jeremy?
Hey, because, you know, this movie
I gotta
put
go
into
off camera
stark
for a
relief
second.
that you always have to be ready in whatever scenario you find yourself in. And if I find myself in, say, Tyler's situation where I need to prepare something for a world-class chef or die, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, that's something to be prepared for. So I would like to ask all of you, if you had to cook something for a world-class chef to save your life, what would you make?
Nice. Yeah. That's a good
it's
one.
Important.
That's a very good question.
Man.
I'll jump in
Do
and
it,
then
Travis.
I'll pitch it to okay. Okay. Timeline matters here. If it's recently, like if you take me now, I think I could do duck breasts with risotto pretty good, because I just recently learned how to make a pretty fire duck breast from someone who was trained at like a French culinary institute. So I've been obsessed with learning how to cook recently, and she came over. She's my wife's coworker. She came over and she like walked me through like, here's how you make a duck breast really good, and like here's the timing on everything, and you don't need anything but salt and pepper, but you just do it like this. And it was amazing. But like before that, fucking a grilled cheese, I don't know.
Well, that better be some bomb ass grilled cheese.
It would, but like
some grilled ass cheese.
I wouldn't want to pull a Tyler and like try and swing out of my league. So I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, chef. I can make you a pretty good cheeseburger. Like that's. I'm gonna admit my limits and hope that he doesn't.
I mean, a cheeseburger could have saved a lot of lives that night.
It could have.
Yeah, you know, he's got all the tools there. Like the
But
restaurant.
you don't know
I really
that.
liked.
But you don't, in the scenario you've pitched, you don't know that yet. You don't know.
It's true. You don't automatically know that.
That's what I would do though. Before
it could be Gordon Ramsay with a gun. You don't know.
If it's now, I would be like, let's do the duck. But like me before the duck, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna grind some beef with bacon, and I'm gonna make you a cheeseburger and see how you like it.
It's a safe bet. Where you got to do what you feel confident in. The duck, I think we're going right now, so I think the duck's a good move.
Thanks.
I would make ramen.
Oh yeah,
because I have been making ramen for a long time. The head coach of the Rams, Sean McVay, would say, I've been making ramen at a high clip for a really long time. And I continue to do that. I used to be pretty amateur with it, but I've now been doing it literally for like a decade. I always have ramen in my pantry. And I've experimented with it in many ways. I've tried different noodles. I now have my favorite noodle and packet combination. Of course, I wouldn't need to use any packets because I'd have like everything I needed at that kitchen. So yeah, I mean, I'd just be making some bomb ass like mushroom shoyu ramen with a whole bunch of fresh vegetables. And I wouldn't even fuck with the meat because I can cook meat plenty good. I've cooked a lot of meat as well. I've worked with Jeremy a couple times. But I wouldn't want to try to have that judged by a chef where I feel like pretty confident I can cook soup grade vegetables to a pretty reasonable consistency.
I wonder if he could have elongated his life. I'm thinking about the duck now. Like, could he have been like, I'll make you duck confit, but I need 48 hours.
Yeah. He really should have.
That would have been the move.
Long.
It's gotta marinate in the in the fat.
He panicked. He panicked.
I can't just rush.
Panicked so hard.
Tyler panicked immediately.
It's like leeks.
Leeks, shallots, butter, and some lamb chops that you gave to your chef Blue Rare.
That's some bullshit.
That was Tyler's bullshit for sure.
Peter,
what about you, Peter?
What you got, man?
I mean, I would cook the only thing that I can cook well, which would be breakfast for dinner, and I would just,
beautiful.
You know, I would probably try to tell a story with it. You know, I would just be like, my father worked at his mother and father's diner growing up as a short order cook. And if there was one thing that man could do very well was breakfast. And then he taught me everything he knew. And yeah. And I would just, you know, hope for the best. I mean, I think there is something.
It's a safe play. That's a safe play.
Yeah, because I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to try. Right. I don't even think I could talk the talk in trying to fake it, you know? So yeah, it would just be eggs, hash browns, and bacon. And then, you know, I don't know. He had that bread there. Would he let me use it? Not sure.
You're probably poor enough that he'd let you use it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so
red course,
let you do toast.
Red course is passed. He's fine with bread coming out. So like,
yeah. So breakfast for dinner.
Supplemental course.
That's where I'm going.
He's so
for.
unexpected.
Breakfast for dinner is great.
That's a great play. Very safe. reliable. You know, everybody's kind of got nobody has a super high bar for that.
No.
And I think in a way, like you almost want it to not be too good. Like
Yeah, you
you've
want
been to a
the-
breakfast place where it's like, okay, like chill with the sausage. Where's the maple? Like,
Yeah,
like where's
like,
the what
We've
are
all-
these bullshit perfectly fresh potatoes? I wanted
Mhm.
grated potatoes with the skin on. You know,
Look,
One of
bro,
the
we've
American-
all had like those hotel steamed scrambled eggs, which taste
come
like
out of the- come
defeat
out of the-
and rubber.
Yeah, they come out of the fucking milk jug thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clay and I have a lot of experience with those with wrestling diets.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I think we'll like
yeah.
your binge eating story for many reasons, Peter.
Oh.
But among those, we were both wrestlers for a long time. So we've both cut a lot of weight and then gone on a lot of eating binges because that's what you do after
Went
you cut
hard.
weight, especially in
Yep.
high school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's my last question of the evening. But before
That was
we
my
go,
question.
Jeremy, you're right. That was
Thank you.
I wanted to steal it to cause controversy.
Good effort.
That was Jeremy's last question of the evening, and my last question of the evening was the one before that.
There you go.
Before we go to Clayton with taking us out with a rating here, I just want to tell everybody: listen, we love doing this for free. We do it
We
for
do.
free forever because it's
We
fun.
are.
We love talking to awesome.
We have been.
Like
We will.
Peter. But what would be even greater is if you follow that little stream down there that's kind of flown by on your thing. You go to www.patreon.com/fermentedfiction.
Or sometimes it's up there.
That's for the Spotify people. www.patreon.com/fermentedfiction. We have tiers from $5 to $30 that are going to get you some really fun stuff. Invitation to the Discord immediately on the $5 one. And we have up there right now 7 days free. Okay, 7 days free.
That's right.
Just test it out. See how you like the Discord. And you know what? I
See
might
if
not
you
even
freaking like
might
it.
not even revoke your Discord invitation if you don't pay us. But all the way up to the 30, you're going to get book bundles. You're going to get a writer's retreat invitation. You're going to get to ask any of your favorite authors, like Peter here, a question on the show. So there's some really cool opportunities if you join Patreon. We'd love to actually do this for a living, and that would be all up to you, the fans. So head on over to that link. I'm not going to say it a third time, Spotify people. I hope you got it the first two. YouTube, it's down in the bottom there, YouTube.
You can rewind it even.
You can rewind. All right, that's it. That's my spiel. Clay?
Yeah.
That
All right. Well, the last thing we do on the show is we rate this thing. So, how many drinks or substances of your choice do you need to enjoy the menu to the fullest extent? How would you have the most fun possible watching it with a substance or two, whatever you prefer? We'll start with you, Trav.
For people like me, the first thing you're going to have to do for my rating is you're going to have to pop yourself a strong heartburn pill. Okay. And then you're going to have to get a nice bottle of wine. And I just want you to drink a glass for every course. That's my rating. Glass per course, including the cheeseburger at the end. That counts.
Oh, yeah. That's
Does
totally
that
of course.
include Tyler's bullshit?
It includes Tyler's bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thank
you might be a little beyond buzzed at the end of this. And again,
That's a bottle of wine.
if you're me, that heartburn pill is very important for the next morning because you don't want to puke brushing your teeth. Yes, that is from true experience. So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
One glass of wine per course is per meal course in the movie. That's my rating.
Cue the someday podcast host will tell you to take a heartburn pill. It's very important you listen meme. Yeah, so do listen. Do listen to Travis if you do this rating system. I really like that one, Trav. I appreciate that one greatly. So I was thinking kind of something similar, like drink with whoever you want to drink with. You know, it allows you to play the game your way. And I think that's always important. So get whatever drink you prefer. I can't drink wine. So if you're like me, get as close as you can, I guess, with like maybe a stout or something. And then yeah, drink with the character who, like, if you were in this scenario, how would you drink? And then pick your character because there's all the layers. You could drink with his mom over in the corner if you really want to go hard. You could drink with that older man's wife, who is just that poor woman, just having the worst night of all time. Like, she drinks pretty hard. Leguizamo's date drinks pretty hard. So, and then you can kind of work your way down from there. So yeah, that's my rating. Drink with the character who you think drinks the most like you would in that situation.
Yeah. So, hey, I think to get the maximum enjoyment out of this one's going to be a little bit involved. The first thing you're going to want to do is work for 20 years in food service. Do that first. It's going to really affect how you view this film.
It will. That's true. That's true.
Now, the next thing I have, okay, everybody, I did do that. So the next thing you'll want to do is, I mean, Travis's rating system, that is pretty good. But we're gonna pivot. We're gonna freestyle. We're gonna go bananas. First of all, we're going to go through whatever your box of scraps is. If you haven't seen our episode on Iron Man, go back, check that out to see what the box of scraps is. Because that's what I watched this film with. And I had a bitchin' time just sipping on my box of scraps. But also have a fancy glass of wine ready to down whenever somebody dies. Now, again, this will leave you blackout drunk and maybe dying by the time the movie is over. So please do call the paramedics ahead of time. Especially since if you do this, you will likely be 20 years older than you are now. So there you go.
Peter?
I mean, I think all three of y'all have solid plans. I'm going to just throw out this one. Shot of your choice. Every time there's a...
Oh, that's good. That's good. The clap.
Fantastic.
That's a great one. Yeah, and you could also just add that to anyone else's game.
Yeah.
Play whatever you want.
Play on hard mode. Shot it.
That's hard mode.
One of our games plus the shot game. That's hard.
Yes.
And take 2 heartburn pills, because if you're having wine and a shot with the clap, like you're gonna suffer, man.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking.
And if you're trying not to make it to Act 3, do all the games at once.
All of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you're
really gonna crave
morning, just watch it hungover. It'll be fine.
Yeah. True.
With
it's
a
also a great
cheeseburger.
movie to watch sober. Yeah, with a hangover cheeseburger. That's actually that's a really good move.
I like it. I
That's
like
ace
this
level
rating
stuff right there.
for the menu. I would have nominated it for an Oscar if I had been on this rating system.
Speaking of nominations it should be nominated for awards, ace level performances. Peter, ace level performance tonight, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you tell people one more time about your books you have out, where people can get them, where they can find and follow and interact with you, maybe other than Costa Rica? And yeah, thanks again for coming on the show, man.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. As I said prior, I love the format of this show. You can find me in all the usual socials. I'm still there. It's just at Peter Rosch for most of them. If you're feeling so inclined, roll out. Either go to your favorite indie bookstore, go to Barnes and Noble. You can pick up What the Dead Can Do. Certainly, that would be very helpful for me as I try to get my next book into the world. If ghosts and possessions and serial killers and mothers trying to kill their son from beyond aren't your thing, and you want to read about a devout anorexic man who can see the future binge eating, pick up Future Skinny. And then look at my catalog further back. There's something effed up for everyone. You know, that's kind of what I'm trying to specialize in. And yeah, or go to peterrosch.com and learn more. Learn more at peterrosch.com. What's your Peter Roche story at peterrosch.com? Yeah.
Perfect.
But for real, if you do find yourself in Costa Rica, just be like, hey, do you know a guy named Peter?
All right. We'll keep that in mind. Yeah, seriously, man. Thanks for coming on the show. It was a great time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been Fermented Fiction. Yet again, we've been the usual stooges, Clay, Travis, Jeremy. And yeah, seriously, if you love the show, go check out the Patreon. You can try it out for $7 a month. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Check us out on the socials on mostly Instagram. And yeah, please do all those awesome things. Share the word. That's the most important thing. Word of mouth. Just spread the word, tell people about a show you like, and maybe they'll listen. That's all we could ever hope from any of you. Thank you so much for being here. Goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Bye.